All right. Well, joining me now is former New York Congressman Democrat Max Rose. He also is a combat veteran and serves in the Army National Guard, whose thoughts on some Trump picks are reflected in the MSNBC.com article. Tulsi Gabbard is my friend. Serving in Trump's cabinet would be a grave mistake for her. Okay, as I welcome you, my friend, let's talk about, first of all, what Tammy Duckworth said.
Sure.
Do you believe that she is someone who's seen as potentially a Russian asset? Is she someone who could compromise U.S. intelligence?
Look, I think Senator Duckworth has access to information that I don't, so I'm not here certainly to make any type of character critique of Tulsi. My principal objection to what she is doing is the fact that I think she's chosen the wrong side to meet the objectives that she has set out, which is to avoid war. And look at what the MAGA movement is doing and is going to be doing in a few short months, abandoning our allies, antagoning our allies with exceedingly high tariffs, engaging in significant culture war within our military ranks, which will sow division rather than unity, focusing our military inwards on domestic issues rather than outwards at a time when we have unprecedented threats from non-state actors as well as near-peer enemies. That is not a plan to avoid war. That is a plan to get us into war. And Tulsi has made her entire career about being anti-war. So that's what seems to me totally contradictory and wrong.
But here's the thing. She's your friend, so you know her in certain ways that the public would not. Is it conceivable to you that she could be a Russian asset, that she could compromise U.S. intelligence?
Look, I find it difficult to imagine anyone I've ever spoken to on a friendly basis doing something like that, right? So I think we all have been in situations where we can't imagine someone we know doing something completely anathema to our values and what we've all collectively dedicated our lives to. But that is a piece of independent investigation. I do not have any information that would lead me to believe that, but it's not to say that an independent investigation couldn't unveil something. But the point here, right, is about something much larger than Tulsi. It is about a MAGA movement that has won this past election on what was an anti-war thesis. This notion that elect us and we will avoid war. And what they're saying is that we're going to abandon Ukraine and avoid war. That is completely the opposite of the truth. When we abandon Ukraine, which is their plan, that will send a message to each and every one of our allies that the United States does not stand with them. And that makes it more likely that young men and women in this country will be sent to war in the future.
Let's take a listen together to Senator Markwayne Mullin, who just a short time ago was defending Gabbard. Here's that, everybody.
You got to keep in mind, Tulsi Gabbard is still Lieutenant Colonel in the United States Army. She commands the reserve unit here in Oklahoma and Missouri. That's the most dangerous thing she could say, is that a United States Lieutenant Colonel and the United States Army is compromised and is an asset of Russia.
Here's the thing. Does commanding an Army reserve unit automatically prevent someone from being a Russian asset?
Well, I mean, he does make a good point that there are some certain security checks and concerns associated with that. I'm in the military reserve at a rank lower than hers. Of course, for different positions, they require different levels of clearance, right? So certainly I can promise you, I can assure you that to be the director of national intelligence requires a much more comprehensive security clearance as well as a security background check than to be a lieutenant colonel in the military reserve. But, you know, the point still stands on a lower level basis, which is why I'm trying to draw this point to a much larger level. Yes, Tulsi has made her decision about which team she is on and which position she is seeking. But the point here is that the MAGA movement itself, the Republican Party itself, is not the anti-war party. They are the party of destabilization. They are a party of attacking the very systems under which peace has been built for more than a half century. And that puts us all in danger, and it makes it much more likely that men and women in this country will be sent to war.
What do you make of Senator Mullin, whom we played there, who is now blocking the promotion of a general? This was a general that was overseeing the troops in Kabul at the Afghanistan withdrawal. Of course, we've heard what former and soon to be again, President Trump has said about wanting to fire senior officers that were involved in the withdrawal from Afghanistan. I mean, look, you served as a platoon leader in Afghanistan, right? I mean, I'm curious your reaction to the senator blocking a general's promotion.
You know, these folks for years now have waged war against what they called a woke movement in the military. What they said
is that exist?
No,
Okay.
absolutely not.
Okay.
But they've talked about it nonstop. And the reason why they've talked about it nonstop is because they've thought that generals all the way down were distracted. Distracted because of Democrats, because Democrats wanted to talk about unity and cohesiveness and diversity, things that actually make units far more effective and ready to go to war. But what this does, actually investigating generals for having abided the law and made tough decisions and following the orders of their civilian leadership.
Right.
What that
Their
is going to do is
commander-in-chief.
change the very nature of civil-military relationships. And every single time that a military officer at any level makes a question going forward, and their lives are riddled with tough decisions, where you don't know what the right answer is, they're going to be constantly worried about a future investigation, and it's going to make our military much less effective. Yet another example of how what they claim to be pursuing is exactly the opposite of the consequences of their actual actions.
Pete Hegseth, again, defense secretary
Sure.
pick by President Trump, future President Trump, he says he's going to fight diversity in the military. What do you think of his nomination, potential nomination?
Yeah, we have never seen, first of all, a nominee for the Secretary of Defense position less ready to take the job on day one. But also what's fascinating about this is that we've never seen a nominee for this position who talks less about warfighting, talks less about preparing our military to actually engage with the enemies that we have in the 2020s and the 2030s.
It's as if he's trying to talk about the culture, but the culture in the military is important, right?
You know, when you go to war at any level, and I deployed to Afghanistan as a low-level infantry officer, I can tell you all you have is the men and women to the left and right of you, and all you have is your trust in them. And the more cohesive you are as a team, and these folks are coming from everywhere, all different ethnicities, all different backgrounds, the more cohesive that unit is, the more effective you are as a war-fighting team. But what Hegseth wants to do right now is make everything a cultural third rail in the United States military. He doesn't care about making us a more effective war-fighting machine as a Department of Defense. He actually right now cares about using the department as a tool for political warfare to advance the MAGA movement. And that is so dangerous because the Secretary of Defense is an operational role that's actually in the command hierarchy, second only to the President of the United States. This is so dangerous.
On a hopefully not dangerous question here, let me ask you this, because it's about this headline. Ready for it? House member who represented Staten Island mentioned as possible DNC chair. You're smiling. What's your response to that?
You know, I got to tell you, first of all, it's an unbelievable position that I hope the right person gets, because the party needs to realign towards winning elections. We need to also elevate these unbelievable leaders that just got elected to the Senate, folks like Senator-elect Slotkin, folks like Senator-elect Gallego, who showed how Democrats can win in states that Trump also win. Let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. So there's probably cooler people in the running than me. My wife and I, we just recently adopted our second child. But what I will tell you is that whether it's with VoteVets, an organization that's doing amazing work that I currently advise, that helped elect Senators Gallego and Senator Slotkin, or in some other position in the party, I'm just really honored to be able to continue to help us build a better party for the future and win more elections, take back the House in 26 and take back the White House in 28.
I don't know. You're sounding like somebody who could be DNC chair to me, but I
that's
guess we'll
so- that's
see.
so- that's
We
so
will
kind of
see. And I should say it's been about 5 years since you and I got to know each other. You were making that point earlier when you came
amazing.
in. I was your
Time
first
flies,
interview.
right?
That's true. Thank you. Good to see you.